Hi, welcome to the Daiku Game Pitch, and today I welcome Daniel Locke and David Blandy, who will soon be kickstarting ECO-MOFOS. Daniel is an artist and a graphic novelist who has previously created Helms of the Multiverse, as well as many other cool graphic art projects. And David has created such works as The World After and Lost Eons, which takes a contemporary art perspective on science fiction. Daniel and David, welcome.
Hello.
Hi, Gary. Thanks so much for having us on. Yeah, we're really...
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on. When I got your email saying, hey, we got a new game coming out, and I saw it, and I was like, that's exactly the type of game that my audience is going to be interested in. And so I'm super happy that you can share it, and I'm excited for your Kickstarter that's coming. When is it going to launch?
Yeah, it's next Tuesday, the 27th of June. So yeah, we're excited for it.
Coming up, yeah.
Cool. And then just kind of briefly, how long have you been doing game design?
Wow. Well, I've been making games since I was like 7 years old in the back garden, using like Action Force G.I. Joe figures, and kind of rolling stats for them and stuff. But really seriously for the last 5 years, I guess. Yeah. And Dan.
Yeah. Well, game design, I don't know. I've sort of been pootling around in the space for as long as David, 5 years or so. But basically, we've known each other for absolutely ages, and around about just before the pandemic, a couple of years before the pandemic, we started sort of talking in sort of code about the fact that we quite liked RPGs. And do you remember this game from the 80s? And do you remember that game?
Yeah.
It's something that never really left my life, but I didn't necessarily always talk openly about it, which is hilarious given that literally my job is as a cartoonist. For some reason, I felt it was difficult to tell people that actually I like painting toy soldiers and reading up fantasy worlds.
There is a stigma that was associated with it for the longest time, and I remember it was something that you said in hushed tones around the room. So, but let's talk about ECO-MOFOS, and right away, cool name. How did this come to be?
Well, it started out as a radical rethinking of Lost Eons. I was thinking about how to mix together the kind of weird, hopeful future with essentially an OSR system. And I was also looking at Micah Anderson's Bastards. Sorry about the language, but
that's quite all right.
We say words on here. And so I was thinking of trying to bring some of those ideas of having kind of a whole set of archetypes that you could roll up as the starting characters, and for it to be OSR compatible, which Lost Eons just isn't. It's kind of its own sort of 24xx system, so it's quite a different sort of system from OSR. And so to try and combine those things, to take a bit of OSR sensibility, a bit of storytelling, mash it together into a weird hope future inspired by Miyazaki, Ursula Le Guin, those sorts of visions of the future that aren't just pure gloom as everything's kind of gone to terrible things. Instead, it's a space where we can actually reconfigure ideas about what society is, who we are, and how we can work together as a community.
We've got a little side room on Discord with another friend of ours called Matt. What's his surname? Golson. He's an amazing games designer as well, but he makes all these incredible things and doesn't share them with people. But I remember one day opening up that little side room, and David had shared this like draft for a game called Solar Bastards. And he was like, what do you think of the name? And I was like, that is amazing. I love Bastards anyway. I think it's brilliant. It's probably going down really well, us saying bastards, isn't it? Don't people from North America like English people saying bastards?
They do. You know what? Sometimes when like Chris McDowell, I think when he just goes on a live stream, I think half the people are there to just listen to him talk, because
but so originally it was called, I remember it being called Solar Bastards. I actually did a drawing with the words Solar Bastards.
And then as I got more into it, it was so clearly an into the odd cairn-based game, taking elements from both. It's become, in the newer iterations, which I'm working on right now, it's becoming even more cairnish with principles, etc. But it just felt like it was just being dishonest to kind of name it after a game that it wasn't based on, that people would get confused by that. So then it's like, oh, I really like that name, but
say what it was called next.
I can't honestly remember what was next.
It was called ECO-MOFOS.
Oh yeah, well.
And I was like, that is amazing. I was like, Solar Bastards was good. You've just leveled up.
But I only said it as a joke, to be honest.
Yeah,
it was like, well, in a way, I guess it's a game that almost started as a shitpost, as like kind of like me trying to make something ridiculous and big and bombastic. That actually developed into something quite deep and interesting, and with a lot of interrelated mechanics that make it quite. I wanted to kind of capture that feeling of Pokemon, you got to catch them all, with sort of like Final Fantasy Tactics job systems, where you mix and match different things to bring them together, but then also somehow have that OSR feeling, but not like you're looking for gold, that kind of acquisitional idea. It's more like you're looking for items and you're looking for things that actually kind of make you into a more kind of rounded character, have different tools in your toolbox, not necessarily more powerful, but just like different kind of small abilities, really.
And that probably plays off of the Into the Odd, which is the grandfather or grandmother of them all, and then Karen, which is down the road a little bit. But that's the whole idea behind it, is that, you don't level up, so to speak. It's that your in-game activities are what actually drive your accomplishments.
I love it. It's such a cool way of like giving a character depth, and it's just like it feels more organic and less artificial than the sort of conventional like D&D level up thing. I mean, when we used to play D&D a lot, it was hilarious.
Yeah,
we'd just get to the end of a session and then everyone would be like, level up.
And like,
which is so much fun. Like, I've got nothing against that, but this is a really nice.
It doesn't make sense narratively.
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess what's different about ECO-MOFOS is that you actually absorb these key items into yourself, and they become adaptations. So they no longer kind of just sit in your inventory. It means you can kind of have certain things that are always part of your character, rather than kind of always worrying about whether you're going to have to drop it at certain points, which is something that happens as you kind of gain what in Ken's term is called fatigue, or something like where you, which take up points on your inventory box. But in ECO-MOFOS, it's burdens, which are these, which is taken from one of Chris McDowell's new games, Mystic Bastion Land, but I think he's abandoned the whole idea, of burdens. But I really love it.
Like it.
It's rather than just like you have a rest in a safe place and it goes away. You actually have to fulfill some sort of narrative in order for something to for that thing to disappear. Like maybe, I mean, weary is the obvious one, but you can either have a long rest or get really, really high on juice, which is like the kind of equivalent of this kind of magical substance that you have in the game. So it sort of becomes always this choice between, do I do the sensible thing or do I kind of take a risk in this moment? So it can provide sort of little impetus to stop people being so super cautious inside, because there's kind of a propensity I'd say, in these sorts of more old school games to be really cautious, get the 10-foot pole, kind of poke every single square. It's like, it gives that like impetus. Well, if I just go for it, then that will get rid of my burden at this point. And then we'll see what happens. So it's bringing a bit of the Daniel Locke Catman into
that's my generic role-playing game character. Initially it was what was I playing? It was a D&D character called the
Tabaxi, wasn't it?
Tabaxi, which are like cats, and I called him Catman Carruthers. And now with that same group, we're playing Star Wars, so I've renamed him Cartman. but it's also that's actually like the sort of philosophy I apply to living my life. I could do the sensible thing, or I could take the risk.
Yeah, exactly. And Dan lives by his word, that's for sure. So we've formed a collaborative co-op, copy paste. We're thinking of this like as a start of kind of giving an umbrella to our collaboration. It's just a very straightforward way of working together, because it's like, rather than worrying about who does what and how many hours are allotted to whatever thing, it's just we work together. We make the thing, see what happens, and then whatever happens is 50-50. So
and you've collaborated before on Out of Nothing, which
I mean, we've collaborated on quite a few things. Yeah, but this was the most I think it's the most out there thing. You can actually buy this.
Yeah, this is like in bookshops. It'll be in Canada. It's like around the world. I think only in the English-speaking world at the moment. Yeah. But if there's any,
it's a fat graphic novel.
But I think we've known each other since we were at college, and since then
20 years.
Yeah,
wow.
We've gone on different sort of.
Do you have like a good meeting story?
Actually, we do. But it's not like chaos. But I remember the first day at university. You're very nervous and stuff like that about being at university, seeing all these new people and stuff like that. I went into a red London telephone box to ring my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and tell her about the day. And this guy that I had seen in my class walked past, and I saw him catch my eye, and he just carried on walking. And I was like, "You're not going to do that, son." So I opened the door and I was like, see you tomorrow, like a really annoying geek. And he said, hello, I'll see you tomorrow, thinking probably what a maniac. So that was the first encounter. But then the time I knew that I was like definitely destined to be like best friends with this guy was on our leaving party at university. It was a short course, 2 years. I was completely I was quite drunk, and some other friends were trying to take my trousers and pants off, and David stepped in and said, Dan, you don't want to do that. And the next morning I remembered it, and I thought, yeah, this guy's a keeper.
He's the hero.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's always been a wild ride with Dan, but we've had some great adventures. I mean, the graphic novel was an adventure of thinking about the history of knowledge for the last 8,000 years, really, and how knowledge is disseminated.
And it goes off into the future. But I think it's sort of like we've been very good friends for all this time, and we're obviously both like in the arts, but our careers have gone in very different directions, and we've been looking for reasons to work together. And I feel like this space, the TTRPG space, actually really represents the place that we're supposed to be working together in. Like, we made this massive graphic novel, and it was brilliant fun, and we put it out there. And then we did talk about doing it again, didn't we?
Oh yeah, definitely
that
up for it.
Segued back into those conversations. They landed in this space.
I think they've found a much more natural home here.
Yeah.
I think we both know our roles. I think we're both at the same time. The way that we work together as kind of artist and designer is very much like, I've put a load of words on the page. We talk about the ideas, and then Dan goes off and does his stuff. It's not like kind of I say, right, we need a picture of a snarling girl with a tattoo of ECO-MOFOS on her face, like that. I didn't say that. It was more like kind of what's the vibe you're getting off this, and how does this kind of make sense to you? And he just he goes off and he draws, he does his magic, and then suddenly it's like, wow, birthday present. It's like incredible stuff.
And this was an award-winning book, right? Out of Nothing. You won some awards for it.
It did win an award. It's a place on the border of England and Wales called Cheltenham, and they put an illustration award. So it's not like, we're not talking the Oscars here, but it did win an award.
It's a nice thing. It's a nice thing, isn't it?
It's an award-winning. But I did see you actually had a display of the artwork in some galleries, and so that's all very cool stuff.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Dan made some beautiful work.
It was really good. Well, it was it was all great fun. Oh, this is my Kickstarter.
Yeah, Dan did this incredible zine, which was also you made a kind of a hardback version.
I made a hardback. Yeah, so cool. That was mainly for me, but I did manage to sell it. It's in shops like all over the world. It's in what's it called?
Exalted Funeral.
Exalted Funeral have got it, and All the World's Problems in Berlin, and Ratti and Cantati, who I think are Canadian as well, aren't they? Yeah, they've got it. So I was really, really chuffed at how it was received. It was basically my stupid like pandemic project, and I honestly, I will have a special place in my heart forever, because like this and TTRPGs definitely did a lot to shore up my mental health during that time.
I think it helped a lot of people getting back into them that had maybe been out of the world for like a little bit. And I have to ask, do you do digital illustration, or is it on paper first?
Mix. Yeah, so it's a mix. So I didn't train as an illustrator. David and I both went to like fine art. We did fine art. So basically, what do you learn at fine art school? Do you just learn how to blag? Yeah. And you get given access to loads of different equipment. But I didn't learn how to illustrate. That came later.
You were always making
just like
drawings, and I remember your drawing of like this kind of rabbit man that you did. Like that sort of, what's fed into this sort of illustrated style was always there. It's just, it's like he thought of it's not the art stuff, and actually, I mean, it's always the stuff that you just get on with that is actually the good stuff.
It's weird, isn't it?
So I've been, I guess, just going back over my back catalogue here, it's like these are some of the works that I've been making since The World After was a big collaborative project made as an art project with roleplay gamers in Essex, to try and make a roleplay game of this particular area called Canby Wick, which was a site of scientific special interest in Essex. It's kind of right on the Thames estuary, and it had been slated to be an oil reserve, but then it was left because of the oil crash in the 70s, and became just this incredible lush space. And it was like a tale of kind of everything regrowing, rebirth almost. And at the time that I was making that, I'd been reading a lot of Ursula Le Guin and thinking about Tales of Earthsea, and I thought about trying to combine ideas of fantasy with this sort of this real place of like kind of what would happen if humanity just went into underground bunkers for thousands of years, and nature was able to kind of replenish itself.
But isn't this the world that ECO-MOFOS is in, though, isn't it?
Yeah, so this is The World After is based kind of in 8,000 years. So like there's kind of severe genetic changes and things. ECO-MOFOS is based in sort of 200 years. So it's like this cataclysm has happened, but it's like it's still very early days. The corpos are still hanging around. There's sort of a more like slightly Mad Max vibe. There's some bandits. There's these weird hermits that have visions of glades that you can that we can maybe form our new homesteads in. And everyone has their own adaptation, or at least all the punks do. Like, so they take on, like, when you roll up your character, you roll their HP, and then depending on what HP you have, you can then roll on that table. So it's another D6. So it's a D6 of all the different main adaptations. And then you get your initial adaptation. So this is kind of the pitch, I guess, an ecopunk ruin delving survival game based in a future post-collapse but recovering. And it's really a world of adventure, intrigue, and beauty, because I want it to be as much about like kind of wonder and discovering the world, which is why it's very much like a procedural adventure system. So it's like you can even roll for the maps. There's a whole series of point crawl maps that you roll for the next one, and then that's your route on the journey, and you can choose to go left, right, find a secret passage. It's like they're all jackazed and everything. So, and then they kind of slot together so that sometimes that map might be like from a long distance, so it's covering a whole week, and that's what all the things are. And then, but then you can zoom in, and that's actually like you've got 2 days journey, so it's 2 of those maps is kind of defines all the points on your journey. So really it can be run as like a no prep game. That was kind of one of my initial impetuses, was like not just to have it like really easy to roll up your character and kind of quick to get into the game. It's quick for the person running it as well, the guide and mentor, as I call them, the GM, so that they can actually just start playing and discovering the world alongside the players, or the punks.
Yeah, which is one of the benefits of OSR and the system of Into the Odd or Mark of the Odd, is that no prep. You just kind of procedurally driven and easy to play and easy to learn. And it's one of those things that we talked about this probably before we started, was, a lot of post-apocalyptic games are very much Mad Max and like Grimdark, and I really appreciate the positive spin that you're putting on what the post-apocalypse could look like.
Yeah, I think it's just like one of the things that attracts me to it is like in this picture, it's like I was looking at when we started talking about doing this Kickstarter, I was looking at like these 17th century etchings of like Europeans rediscovering the classical world, and they're always like these classical ruins covered with like ivy, with like a little guy with a tricorn hat standing in the bottom left, looking in wonder. Who built these things? They must have been giants. It's crazy. So putting myself in this world David's created, I was like, well, there would be this. Like, the world is always going to be this beautiful place. Even we live in a world of tragedy and awfulness, but it's still like transcendental and beautiful and awesome, like awesome. And trying to convey this sense that everywhere that the punks move, that they're moving through this land of mystery with the possibility of discovery. So I think that's really cool. I think that having just a bleak world is just
and I can see the appeal in a way. It's like kind of grinding into like, what's the dirtiest, grimiest thing that can happen
that's
here.
true. I mean, I've got a soft spot for 80s, primarily 80s, early 90s 40k. It's never going to leave my heart. There's a special corner of that grim darkness which is going to be forever bleak.
Well, there's more conflict usually that comes from that kind of world where it's just like eking out a survival.
And I guess we wanted to emphasize sort of working together, which I think really comes naturally to this sort of system anyway, because you're always like, none of you are superheroes. It's all kind of very much, even though you have these adaptations, they're quite low key. It's like something that is quite hard to do. I mean, you see magic in much the same form as sort of Ged in Tales of Earthsea, where like, there's always a cost to magic. It's like, things are difficult. So it's a book full of tables. So it's got, one of the kind of key parts of it is this D666 table of stuff. So it's called like loot and stuff. And so if you're rolling for armor, you're rolling on this particular page, and then you roll D66, so like two D6, and then you get your 1 of 36 type thing. And hidden within that massive table D666 are the key items, which are the adaptations. So you can play it like just basically like a random generator, like when you're playing in Final Fantasy and there's like a random battle, and occasionally it's like the creature that you were looking for that drops the special loot. You can kind of play it like that if you want to, like so there's always kind of you're always surprised by what turns up in each particular area. But the whole reason that I wanted it to be OSR compatible was that so that you can just drop in adventures as well. So say you want to put in, I don't know, the Dark Tower or something into this world, you kind of, we've found a bunker, this is the Dark Tower. It's like, and so you kind of have this procedural adventure, and then it leads up to kind of these modules that exist. So it can kind of, freely go between these different systems.
It's part of the thing I love the best about the OSR scene is the creativity and that like openness to collage just from other IPs or franchises. It's like, I'll take a little bit of this, I'll take a little bit of that, and I'm going to produce something beautiful.
What before we move on here, when you look at the lore of it, is it kind of built into the random tables, or is there any kind of like overarching lore that you've like put down on pen and paper?
Yeah, no, it's a mixture of there's kind of a few pages of kind of loose lore. So the idea of these different bands of peoples. So you have the punks, who are like the weirdos, the outcasts. You have the bandits, who are more like the kind of the Mad Max like tribe trying to just get by on their wits and maybe use violence a little bit more than the punks would. And then the corpos, who are kind of the remnants of kind of the old ways, living in kind of these very highly constructed bunkers. They have maybe a line up to Mars, which is where all their leaders are. And then also these hermits who wander around, and they kind of have this secret knowledge of the world.
It's all sort of hinted at and implied, and very sort of light touch, but there is a lot of lore. Like, you know, you play through it, and I think that there will be you'll be left with a strong sense of the world, a very particular world, but perhaps your experience of it will have its own unique flavor. It's not like, I mean, one of the things that I can never like do the GMing, because I just can't remember stuff. You know, I just can't. Like, I read all this lore, and I can't apply it. So so this is much easier on the GM in that way, as we've already said. But I think it's like the lore is there, but it sort of establishes itself and makes itself concrete in that moment of sharing around the table.
Yeah, I think this was probably quite highly influenced by Leo Hunt's Vaults of Varn.
Oh, I love
in
it.
that it's the lore, there is some lore set out, but most of it comes out through the content of both the tables, the items that you're given at the start. It's it's kind of imbued into every single choice that's made in the book.
Yeah, David's done a really good job in the text of like really positioning that vibe, which is like where the lore is in all of the items. I mean, so often random tables can just be a random, like genuinely a random list, but I don't actually think anything is random in these lists that he's put together. They're full of just really amazing little sparks.
Often I'm trying to think, I mean, not only in the procedural tables of sort of encounters and things, but also just in the items. You know, I'm always trying to think of how there can be a little story attached to it, how it could be a hook, how it could be like a lure, how it could be like something that adds to the adventure that's going on. What is the problem that this will cause? You know, is this like and
generates surprises?
Yeah, that's what I kind of hope to do. You know, but it's kind of weird when it's like a really extended form of poetry, isn't it? Like where everything's like set out over so many pages, and you kind of have to read it in a really particular way, I think, or play it really. It's something that's experienced.
It sort of has to be played and not necessarily even shared. I mean, this has got a complete like solo rule set in it, so you can play it on your own, but it sort of has to be experienced that way. It's like a time-based medium, like a movie or something. You know, you can't just it's really strange. It's really unique, and actually that's one of the things, like with the old fine art hat on, it's so compelling. This medium is so compelling because it's so unique. I think it's like perfect, actually.
Well, I love the art form of tabletop role-playing games, and the ability to do it on your own, just reading it, or with people, and be collaborative and storytelling. And I just love the way you sprinkle in the story as you play.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I also agree that it is like an art form. Like both David and I have got this background, and David is like a fine artist, and I've got a background in that space. And so it's sort of, that is how I approach my own art practice still, even though I'm not making like work for the gallery. And that's how I sort of approach the making of this. It's like having an openness to ideas and possibilities, and treating it like it's worth treating seriously. It's not something that's disposable.
Well, I swear, like a lot of tabletop role-playing games that I love could be in an art gallery, from my perspective. I could totally spend a whole day just going around looking at pages. And so you got some, I guess, adversaries here that
this
run into
from the bestiary. So this is a man, a doomseer, absorbing his, looking at his orb.
So, these are my favorite. Like, there's all sorts of amazing stuff, like service droids and essential addicts are quite cool as well, but the Doomseers are like wicked. Actually, like on my, I made a couple of pamphlets which are going to be in the bundle of our Kickstarter, and one of them was about this sort of Doomseer sect. And a dropout Doomseer who's like this old hippie that lives on the fringes of the conventional, like orthodox Doomseers. I just think there's so much, like it's all here already. There's so much potential and possibility in these guys. They're bad guys. Well, not really bad guys. They're just like adverse.
They have their own thing going on.
Yeah,
I think that's what's always, you know, a more interesting way to go with TTRPGs is that you kind of think of each kind of group as they just, you know, they have a will to life, and they have a reason for doing what they're doing, and they're just getting on with it, and maybe you're in the way, like that. That's kind of,
they're the hero of their own story, right? And they're going to be doing their thing.
I tried to riff on that exact idea with this illustration, because it's actually from like the Two Towers, when Saruman is like looking at the what's that, the palette I
can't remember what it's
the
eye thing,
the bowling ball. He's looking at the bowling ball, and like those are, if you ask me, there's some problems with those films, but that scene is incredible, and it's an incredible composition. So I was just like, right, I'm going to lift that composition and turn it into a Doomseer.
Cool. And then I haven't seen the full game, but the life paths, I mean, that's a take from the original days of Traveller. And
that's right. Yeah. I mean, I've always liked the idea of being able to die during your character creation, and so as an optional, as an optional kind of potential, you it's essentially a d6 table, and if you roll a 1 you die, and but if you're lucky, you can add a few extra adaptations. I mean, each roll you're adding a decade to your life, so it's like, you know, it's extra time that you spent exploring the world, and maybe you've got an extra profession, maybe you've got an extra adaptation, maybe you've gained a burden. Like all of these things kind of it builds up a story for your character very quickly. And then, you know, are you going to risk doing one more roll, like, or
it's like Russian roulette,
and then to sort of start again? Like
that's great. It's a brilliant little mini game before the the main event.
Totally. And then we've already talked about adversaries and weird future bestiary.
This is one of the earlier drawings you did, actually, wasn't it?
I think they sort of draw from the world after, actually, don't they?
The ant creatures.
Yeah, but I mean, like, who doesn't love an insect monster? I mean, come on, it's 1950s movies. It's just, you know, it's good stuff.
And then you previously mentioned there's a solo mode. So
the whole thing is built really. I mean, it's really very solo friendly to begin with, because it's so procedurally based. So you can just roll out your adventures. But I've also built in the whole of the Alfred Valley. I don't know if you know Alfred Valley's work. He done amazing things like what's the 1,000 Empty Light and things. But the inside that there's an oracle system, ORACLE, and it's like, and it's your procedure for how you encounter each moment, and it just helps people who haven't played solo before to really kind of get into that mindset and the kind of the ritual, in a way, of what solo play is. So that's all built into it already. It's going to be given an extra pamphlet by Brandon Yu.
This is brilliant.
And to kind of as a play aid. So it's going to be a kind of fully fledged solo game as well. So these are some of the people that are going to be working with us on the extra material for this game. They're all going to be writing adventures, kind of small adventures, probably like pamphlets or kind of 8-page things. So we've got Logan Dean, who wrote The Company. We've got Eiko, who wrote Sky Realms. We've got Sam, who wrote Amnesis, and also ZXC, who wrote Reach of the Roach God, and then that's Brandon used to work the Solitary Depths. He's a kind of specialist in solo work. So each of them have come with their own like a synopsis and a proposal for what these adventures will be, and they're awesome. Really,
we've seen them, and like there's some incredible ideas. I mean, just the synopsis alone are going to be worth it. Like, I can't wait to read the entire adventures.
And Sam Lee's one, Goblin Mixtape is their handle on Twitter, I think, is that you surf down the side of a giant antlion's nest down into the bottom to find a kind of lost library. And I just thought, it kind of started from that image.
Yeah.
And then ZXU's is that there's there's kind of basically there's a nuclear warhead near your village, and like, everyone knows not to go near it, but they also know this has to be dealt with. And it's like that kind of,
I think that's beautiful.
The idea, that the problem falls to you is sort of was the proposal. And it's like, so nice. And it kind of even in a tiny bit of writing, managed to really encapsulate kind of a whole idea of like village life.
It's just going to be so good. And like we've just seen one paragraph, like people basically have to back this Kickstarter just so we can get I want these things.
Are those stretch goals, or are they just baked into the original?
No, they're stretch goals, but we've because we believe in treating artists fairly. They have all been paid half their fee already as contributors. So whether it gets funded or not, they've been paid for their time to put together it's a kind of synopsis and overview, and then we'll ask them to complete it if the stretch goal gets there. But fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
And I know there's like the conversion between pounds and dollars and that kind of stuff, but just tell us, what are the tiers that we're looking at?
So we've got obviously there's the digital tier is around was it
I've got them.
We should do this before. Should have got this ready.
That's terrible salesman.
Well, and you got the digital one probably, and then are you doing a hardcover?
So
basically we're doing a digital, and then we're doing a spiral bound, which won't feature all of the art. It will just be like a very user-friendly tool that you can just pull out at the table. And then we've got what we're calling the art book, and that's the sort of the essentially the main backbone of the project that will contain everything that's new. And then we're having the art book plus the bundle that will be the extra adventures and other materials that we're commissioning. And then we're doing a special tier at the top, aren't we? Like
with an art print of one of the images from the project, and also all three covers, because there are three different covers to this thing. I'm from 90s comics kid, and I like a variant cover. I know they get a bad rap nowadays, but I like a variant cover. Why not? Variety's the spice of life.
We've got three different covers. Do you get to choose which one if you buy the single, and then there's a tier with all of them?
So the basic cover is for the spiral bound and just the art book when you get it in the hardback book. If you go for the hardback book with the bundle, then that's the second cover. And then if you go for the hardback cover and the spiral bound, which is kind of like we're calling like everything, then you get the third cover. And then there's like, if you want all three books, like there's the ridiculous art print kind of 3 copies, everything, and big box bundle. So that's the different tiers that we've got at the moment.
Cool. And when is the expected delivery time at this point?
We're looking around kind of middle of next year. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we timetabled about 8 months from the end of the Kickstarter.
Yeah, the book is going through a complete redesign. It's all written, but it's being edited by Eiko, and who's really kind of bringing out different ideas, clarifying things, and also looking to incorporate all the things I've learned from using Clayton Notestein's Adventurers template. I don't know, lots of people have been using it recently. It basically has sidebar, and it'll be a lot clearer than the PDF at the moment. The PDF at the moment is almost like I wanted to get it out and have it really condensed and like kind of as minimal pages as possible. This one is going to be a little bit more room, a little bit easier to kind of.
I think it'll be easier it'll be easier to like for a first encounter, especially for people that are like maybe new to the scene. It would probably be an ideal book for them to approach the scene through, because there's a lot of space on the pages. We've got loads of art as well. I mean, we already generated a ton of art. Like, this is just a sample of it. And then I've got a stack of drawings which are half finished. So to answer your earlier question, I draw like a whole bunch of things all at once. It's drawn on paper initially. That's then scanned, and then it goes through digital coloring. And these drawings have a third layer because we wanted to reference, like, one of the things we love is like 1980s 2000 AD, which was a sci-fi comic in the UK. And it had this amazing texture, and it gets that texture by being 4-color separated, which is an old print technique. So all of the images go through this sort of very convoluted process to produce this sort of slightly textured, digital but not digital fill. We've got lots of stuff in the works, pipeline already.
It's amazing the levels that sometimes you go through to get that right look.
Yeah, it's crazy. But you got to do it, right? The thing tells you what it needs.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. And so once again, all the links are going to be in the description of the video, and it launches next Tuesday. And,
wow. God, it seems soon.
Wow, I can't believe it.
But yeah, please, click on follow, and you'll be there first, because there's going to be a patch.
Oh yeah,
on the first day.
Yeah, we're doing like a physical patch of the logo, the ECO-MOFOS logo, for the first day backers.
Cool. So follow the link and then go to the Kickstarter and be notified when it launches.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Gary.
Well, David and Dan, I really want to just appreciate you coming on and sharing a little bit of this. I think it's going to be a really fun game and very successful. And if you are a indie game designer out there and you want to pitch your game, feel free to come on our show and do a game pitch with us and tell them Game Pitch Gary sent you.
Hey friends, are you looking for a game that is not Dungeons or Dragons? Well, we got exactly what you need at Daku Game Pitch. We got zines, we got OSR, we got adventures. But wait, there's more. We got solo games, we got journaling games, we even got card games and dice games. Oh hell, I don't even know what kind of game this is, but we got it. And if you visit us in the next 2 minutes, you're gonna get all the Zine Quest, Zine Months, Itch Fund and Backer Kits, Kickstarters that you can handle. Visit us at www.qgames.com and tell them a Game Pitch Gary sent ya.